the AYCC headquarters.
Hi, I'm Amanda McKenzie.
I'm Anna Rose, and we're the co-directors of the Australian Youth Climate Coalition.
And I'm Ellen Sandel.
You may remember Ellen from such exciting videos as the Youth Decide campaign updates.
There's been a lot of climate change news in the last couple of weeks, so we thought we'd make this brief video to break it down for you. Unfortunately, we've just found some very disturbing evidence that shows the government are completely on the wrong page when it comes to climate change. This is what Penny Wong said on Sunday's episode of Insiders.
I think that's the key way of looking at this. What is the temperature rise that we want to try and achieve? What is the temperature rise that we want to try and achieve? The temperature rise that we want to try and achieve.
The UN climate talks are coming up in a couple of weeks in Copenhagen. However, over the weekend, world leaders got together in Singapore at the APEC summit and announced they were no longer aiming to create a legally binding agreement in Copenhagen. Instead, they were going to create a political agreement. And they took the numbers out as well.
What a bunch of posers.
Apparently, it's easier for world leaders to get together and bail out the banks than the planet.
But lucky for us, we know their strategy. They're trying to lower our expectations so we don't expect much from Copenhagen. But we expect more. It's government's responsibility to come up with a global solution to the climate crisis. After all, it's their job.
As you can see from our expectationometer, our expectations for Copenhagen are very high. The darkest hour is before the dawn. Anything can happen between now and then.
Back on the home front, this carbon pollution reduction scheme. Sounds good, right?
No, the government's carbon pollution reduction scheme only has targets of 5%, with the possible option of going up to 25% if there's a strong deal in Copenhagen. Now, the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says that to have a 50-50 chance of avoiding dangerous, catastrophic 2 degrees warming, countries like Australia need to have targets of between 25 to 40% at least. To make matters worse, the Liberals are negotiating with the government to brown down a very bad scheme even further. Some of the Liberals that are pushing against the scheme include Wilson Tuckey, Bronwyn Bishop and Nick Minchin.
Interestingly, the Australian featured Nick Minchin only the other day being compared by members of his own party to a Fruit Loop. Fruit Loops are lightweight, they're totally devoid of any nutritional value, and they don't really have that much relevance to climate policy in Australia, much like Nick Minchin. Real climate experts agree, the only thing we should be doing with Fruit Loops is eating them for breakfast.
The Liberals are pushing for some really bad changes to the CPRS, and you can read about them on the AYCC blog. They've already got their first concession on Saturday, which was to exclude agricultural emissions from the CPRS indefinitely, while including agricultural offsets. Well, that's a bit like having your cake and eating it too. And the word on the street is, the Liberals are going to get even more concessions to big polluters in a dirty deal to be done in Parliament on Thursday. So this means the government's already proposed a bad scheme, and the Liberals are trying to make it even worse. But what we want is a good scheme, one that does what an emissions trading scheme is supposed to do, which is reduce Australia's emissions.
As you can see from our expectationometer, our expectations for the government's CPRS are unfortunately very low.
So what do we, young people who care about climate change, need to be doing in these next few crucial weeks?
Well, the AYCC is hitting politicians where it hurts, at the ballot box. We're running campaigns in the upcoming by-election on December 5th in Higgins in Melbourne and Bradfield in Sydney to show politicians that climate change is a #1 issue. And we're also continuing to push the amazing results of Youth Decide. Just a couple of weeks ago, we went with World Vision to Parliament to present the stunning results to our politicians.
We're sending a delegation of young Australians to the United Nations conference in Copenhagen to unite with other young people from around the world to put pressure on governments and influence the negotiation. We're also there to support our Pacific Island neighbours.
We need your help. We need all eyes to be on Copenhagen to make sure that our politicians can't back out of a good climate deal. We need you to sign up to our COP Watch alert list. This is an email list where you'll receive daily video blogs from us from Copenhagen, and they'll be even better than these ones.